Welcome back to Haircuts, everyone. We got a bit of a problem. The coronavirus has now come to North America. It has infected the Mini. As you can see, it's been infected. It's got its tongue out and it's flicking it around. We're going to pull this car inside and see what's wrong with it. We've got the car inside. We are on the passenger side, the belt drive side of the engine, and you can see that the tongue is actually the Serpentine belt. It has come apart. We've got our protected clothing on so the virus doesn't spread from the machine back to humans, and because we don't want that to happen. If you look down there, you see that shiny pulley. That is the Idler pulley, and what it appears, you'll see here when I hit it with the pry bar, is that it's freely moving around. So it looks like the outer part of the pulley has separated from the main part of the pulley. Maybe the main part seized or something like that, and that's what caused the belt to come apart. We're gonna take a stab at this and see if we can get this done without using the Mini tensioner tool. There's a special tool that Mini has to relieve the tension on the tensioner, so you can replace the Serpentine belt, but we don't have that, and we need to get this done. So we're gonna take a stab at that, and we're gonna show you how you can do this at home as well. To give you an idea of what we're going to be doing, because it's going to be hard to film while we do it at the same time, that right there is the tensioner. So this whole piece is part of the tensioner assembly. Right at the very bottom, sort of right there, you'll see where it's sort of pointing. There's one hole there and one a little bit to the right of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick bolts in there, and we're going to use a pry bar basically to pull up on there. And if we don't break our light, right there, that's the tensioner spring. And in there is like a little rod. We're going to relieve the tension, so that rod is going to pop up. There's two holes in there, so we're not going to worry about the upper hole, but the lower hole, we're going to stick something through there like an Allen key to keep the tension off, and that's what's going to allow us to put the belt through. The Mini tool, what it does is it pivots on that bolt right there, and then it has two prongs that go into where we're going to put the bolts into on the bottom, and then that's how the Mini tool works. So that's the easier way of doing it, but since we don't have it, and most people don't, this is how we can do it at home without having the official Mini tool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this the passenger side wheel off so we can get this fender liner removed and get into the job. Now that the wheel is out of the way, we are going to remove this and that one there, this one here, and someone's helped us out by not putting these back in the last time they were there. So these two, that one up there, and then this one here. And I think that should be it, and then we're able to pull this inner fender liner up, and then we'll have some access to where the crank pulley and all that sort of stuff is. So we're going to get to it now. Inner fender liner is off, and we now have a view of the crank pulley, which is driven by the crankshaft, which drives the Serpentine belt for all of the accessories. Right here is that Idler pulley, and you can see what it looked like from above seems like it's true. So it's come apart from the Idler bolt or the rest of the pulley, and as you can see, the rest of it's fine. The bolt is still on there securely, but it's this outer piece or whatever it is, we'll find out more when we take it off, is just spinning freely. And what we're going to do now is going to unbolt that bolt right there and take a look to see what it looks like. Right here is a brand new Idler pulley, and this is what it should look like. Look on the back, so you see like the seal, and when you spin it, you see that everything is spinning. Now compare that to the one that we took off. Look at the seal. Everything back there is destroyed, and it's moving freely from, I guess, what the bearing on the bolt and everything was. So this whole thing is basically just come right apart, and then because that was, I guess, moving around, the belt got caught behind the pulley for the AC condenser, and then that's really what shredded it apart. And taking a look at the belt, what we had on there is a 1360, so that means 1,360 millimeters. And the new one is a 1364. So there, see, 6PK 1360. This is the one that came with the supercharger pulley. And so the replacement that we got is what's recommended online, and the one that we got to replace it is this one right here. So it's the Gates part number K060535, and you can see it says 6PK 1364, so it's 4 millimeters longer than the one that came with the supercharger. That's pretty close. It's not going to make a difference, and that's what's recommended online. Everybody suggests to get the Gates branded belt. This is actually the Napa branded belt, or the Napa belt, but it is made by Gates, and this is what we're going to put in. So right now we're going to bolt up the pulley, and then we're going to start, we're going to relieve that tension off that the tensioner, because we haven't done that yet. Normally you would have to do that first before taking the belt off, but our life was made a little bit easier since the belt decided to shred itself apart. So we're going to go in there, put the idler in first, and then we're going to relieve the tension off that tensioner, and then we can put the belt in. Off camera, I've already released the tension, but how I did it is I put in that this is a 1/4 inch bolt. You can see all the holes a little bit better now. So there's 1, 2, and that's the third, sort of the furthest one away. And that's where we put it into, because that'll give us the best leverage, because it's the furthest one out. And we also then, we're using our pivoting point is, where is it? Right here. Right there. We're going to go right off of this bolt, because that's where the tensioner pivots off of. And then we put this pry bar down like this, and you pull up on that bolt on this side, and then push down on this side. And then the spring will compress, and you can see right there, you can see there's, let's try to get this focused. Okay, you see that hole where light's coming through? That's the first hole. That's where you sort of check to see whether there's your belt has stretched or not. But you're seeing this little black little speck. That is the Allen key that I've wedged in there into the second hole, so you can barely see the hole or any light coming. You can't see any light because there's a very thin Allen key. That was the best I could do to get it in by myself. So this was pretty tough to release it, but if you have a second pair of hands, it makes it a lot easier. So now that the tension has been released, we're going to go ahead and route the belt. The belt has been routed now. There's lots of slack, like you can see. It went on fairly easy. If you're having a tough time, just make sure that that everything is not binding. Just want to show you that. Where is that? There we go. Pulley is moving fine, and then there's tons of slack as long as you use that second bolt hole, or that I guess eye hole, or whatever it is that they call. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now we have to go back through and reverse all the steps that we did. So we're going to take the tension off, and pull that Allen key out, and then we're good to go. So we've cured the Mini Cooper from the coronavirus that it was suffering from, that resulted in its snake tongue. So look at this thing, like it's completely mangled, and that's because it was caught in the AC compressor pump pulley, got caught in behind there. And the real culprit was this right here, the Idler pulley. Some people call it the stationary pulley, and that's what caused the whole thing. And when you're driving down the road, you'll discover this because your battery light will come on saying that there's no, the alternator is not working, and then your power steering is going to go eventually. Like, you'll still have some battery charge that'll let you use your power steering and the fans, but once they'll start running low, then you're going to have no power steering, and then your radiator fans are going to be running, and then your engine's going to start to overheat. So if you start seeing that light, as soon as you see that battery light come on, that means that you should pull over fairly quickly, because that means that your serpentine belt is most likely gone, or your alternator is not working, and you don't want to overheat your car. So this was not that time consuming. We showed you how you can use some tools that you may have sitting around the house to help you get this done. So you don't necessarily need the mini tool. If you have the mini tool, it'll make the job a lot easier, but you don't need it, and this is how you would do it without it. And the tools that you would need is that quarter-inch thick bolt, I should say, 13 millimeter socket for your idler pulley, and that's pretty much it. And I think it was a 17 or 16 mil for taking off the wheel, and a Phillips head screwdriver. That's all there is to it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you all next time.